got Congressman Paul Gosar from Arizona joining us on the show. And, Congressman, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Well, thanks for having me on, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got an interview at Human Events right now talking about the Fast and Furious case. And I've got to thank you for speaking out about this. I know with Congress not in session right now, it may be easy for this story to fall off the radar of a lot of folks because we're not seeing House oversight hearings quite as frequently as we did. That'll happen later in the year when you guys come back to D.C. I guess my first question for you is, are you hearing about this from your constituents? Are they asking you questions about Fast and Furious?
They're starting to, and that's why we've everywhere we've gone, we've brought it up, Cam, because it's outrageous what we tried to do from the Justice Department and ATF when they were even looking at this. This was a failed attempt from the very get-go.
Well, yeah, and the explanations that have been offered by the Obama administration, by the Justice Department, do they make any sense at all to you?
This is how outrageous it is to me. If we were used as collateral damage and not even told about it, we actually facilitated guns into criminals' hands with no surveillance, no follow-up whatsoever. And they're going to end up at crime scenes across this country and in Mexico. And we didn't even tell Mexico about this. It's outrageous. This is totally outrageous. This goes against all fundamentals of law enforcement.
And now, as I understand, one of the latest developments here is that in the last letter that Ronald Weiss from DOJ sent to Senator Grassley and Representative Issa, they talked about 11 other crime scenes in the United States where Fast and Furious guns have turned up, in addition to the murder site of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry. But they didn't really provide a lot of additional information. They just said, well, 11 other sites where these guns have turned up. But we don't know, it sounds like anyway, Representative, we don't know what these crimes were, who the criminals involved were. Is that right?
Well, we don't. We weren't provided any of those details. And those are the things that I know that there was one that goes all the way to Texas, El Paso, where they confiscated or found 57 or 58 guns that were linked back to Fast and Furious. But this is the problem that we've been having with the Department of Justice, is following and getting compliance with the details about this Fast and Furious. And I think it goes back to the comments that were made in one of our hearings, Cam, where Special Agent Canino was serious. I mean, his body language during the whole thing was just he was totally distraught with the way his superiors were talking, because he said, when he was given the chance, he said, they took this book that I've given my oath to, that I work hard to. I uphold this. They took this training book, this operational guide, and they threw it away. They ground it up in a grinder. That's how bad they did this.
And we still, again, I mean, there's still just so many outstanding questions, including the personnel moves of the three supervisors in the Phoenix area who've now been transferred back to D.C. The ATF put out a statement saying, well, these weren't promotions because nobody got a pay raise and nobody, changed their government grade. But these guys were all in Phoenix during Fast and Furious, and now they're all at ATF headquarters. What does that tell you, Congressman?
Well, that tells me that we've got a problem going on here, and that we need a special investigator to make sure that when we're going through this on the criminal activity, that we have somebody that has clear eyes looking at this, so that we're not making any deals with agents, with informants, and all that stuff. We need somebody to make sure that we're holding DOJ to the line and to the letter of the law, because we need to have criminal prosecutions to whoever and those that were involved in this activity.
So I want to make sure I understand you correctly. You're saying that a special investigator needs to be involved as well as the House Government Oversight and Reform Committee?
I think that maybe I'm saying it a little bit wrong, but we need an investigator to make sure that the Department of Justice, when they are looking at these criminals' crimes and following these guns, that there's somebody who wasn't attached to this process or program, making sure that when we are handing out or prosecuting these individuals, that's clear and transparent, so that we're not giving any fudge factor or ability to skate on crimes that may be involved within the DOJ.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that Texas Senator John Cornyn has also sent a letter to Attorney General Eric Holder asking if there were any investigations in Texas that were using Fast and Furious style techniques, allowing guns to walk. There are allegations that that was the case. Is this something that you think the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee will look at eventually, whether or not other operations under Project Gunrunner were doing the same thing that Fast and Furious was doing?
I do believe there were other ones under Project Gunrunner that were being utilized, maybe even out of eastern United States, possibly Florida. But those were very, very different comparatively to Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious goes into a whole different tactical change that seems to be outlined by Mr. Holder in a speech he gave in Mexico in April of 2009. He doesn't call it that, but he talks about this tactical shift that they're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it is interesting that you bring that up, because so far there's been a lot of denials from the Obama administration that Eric Holder knew anything at all about Fast and Furious, that President Obama knew anything at all about it, and yet there are these speeches from both Eric Holder and from the president in April and May of 2009 talking about these shift in tactics, as you said, a change strategy to go after the big fish. And by November of 2009, Fast and Furious is in place. They're supposedly going after the heads of the snakes of these cartels, and we're supposed to believe that those two things aren't related?
Well, let's take it a step further, Cam. You bring up the next point that I have. We're dealing with an international border. We're dealing with a foreign country, Mexico, our neighbor. We never even told them about this, but we know they're going to go across the border because we had no surveillance on this.
Yeah.
So you think the Secretary of State would be involved in this as well, that this should be a cabinet discussion. Because if it wasn't, then shame on them again. That is even a worse deal. That we have a Department of Justice just going rogue on us? Oh, my God.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of going rogue, I've got to ask you, Congressman, President Obama announcing new rules for deportation proceedings, DHS announcing these new rules that will allow the DHS to halt deportation proceedings against people in this country illegally who meet certain criteria, whether it's attending school here, having family in the military, to being the primary earner in a family. They say they're going to concentrate instead on going after illegal immigrants, illegal aliens who have criminal records. What's your take on this announcement from DHS today?
This is the same thing that this administration is known for. They pick and choose the rules that they want to uphold and do it their way, instead of enforcing the rules the way they are on the books as written. And that's wrong. That's plain wrong. Very
similar to the new rules that they're pushing for border state FFLs, including FFLs in Arizona, with the multiple reporting of long gun sales.
Well, and it's funny that you asked that, Cam. We've had a number of my constituents come forward that all of a sudden they're reporting that ATF is already showing up at homes asking for documentation, putting more stringent requirements at sales. They are photographing and monitoring all these gun fairs that may be at different places. Very odd coincidences that we're noting just from my constituents right here in rural Arizona as to the activity of the ATF.
Interesting. Well, Congressman, it sounds like when you get back to D.C., you're going to be a very busy individual. Keep spreading the word about Fast and Furious while you're out there in Arizona. I look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Cam, thank you very much, and thanks for keeping this on the front burner. We need to keep government accountable and hold those responsible for this illegal activity, because that's exactly what it is. Not just the losing their jobs, but to put them as criminals.
Absolutely. Congressman, thanks again for your time, sir. Look forward to doing this soon.
Thanks, Cam. Talk to you soon.